Knowing how to spend your money is equally as important as knowing how to save your money. There's a slippery slope between taking a balanced approach and developing what's known as a savings addiction, which is just as bad as a spending addiction. And I go through a few examples. I was on LinkedIn and there was a post, very popular. It was a man in his 40s. He was boasting about how frugal he was. He had a very high level of income. He lived in a 500 square foot apartment. He had one suit. He didn't have a car. He saved every penny that he had. Meanwhile, his friends were living life to their fullest and living paycheck to paycheck. So these two people are at the opposite ends. One has a savings addiction and maybe his friends have a spending addiction. It's important to live life in a balanced manner, giving up some enjoyment of life now so that you can have a decent retirement later on in life. I found it humorous that he was boasting about this during a pandemic. Life is uncertain. We don't know what the future holds. There's no guarantee that he will even make it to retirement. So it's important to live for today, but to do so in a balanced approach. This man's behavior, his savings addiction, wasn't going to lead him to happiness. I'm going to show you where it leads. I have a real life example from a client, and I've seen this before. So let's go through it. I'm Hilberry. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Client, much like the LinkedIn man, and he spent most of his life having a savings addiction. And in retirement, he continued on with his savings addiction. He didn't just all of a sudden switch the switch and start enjoying life to its fullest. Once behavior patterns are ingrained, it takes a huge amount of effort to change your thought process and to change your behavior. And so he continued on, and he took it to the extreme. He ended up bathing in the river, even in the middle of winter, to save on his electrical bill. Meanwhile, he had millions of dollars in his investment account. Sadly, my client died, never once having enjoyed the fruits of his labor. He may as well have been penniless for all the good that all of his money did him. At the other end of the spectrum is someone who has a spending addiction, and they too risk ending up penniless. And so the two end up in the same place, don't they? But there's a much easier approach. Take a balanced approach. Much like eating too little is bad for you and eating too much is bad for you, so too should you take a balanced approach in your eating habits and in your spending and saving habits. Whether you're retired or whether you're in your income earning years and you're saving, taking a balanced approach is more likely to lead to less stress and happiness down the road. Clients have been asking, should they reduce their withdrawals out of their portfolio because we're in a recession, prices have dropped, the future is uncertain and unknown, and they're maybe feeling a little bit afraid. And the answer is, if you have a properly structured portfolio, probably not, but we should talk about it and review your goals and take a balanced approach. Our habit is to pre-fund a client's withdrawals by about 12 months worth of income. And so that leaves a cash buffer between price action in the stock market and a client's withdrawals out of the portfolio, keeping in mind that we also have a portfolio generating interest income and dividend income, and so that will also replenish the client's withdrawals. And so in reality, you have anywhere between 1 to 2 years worth of cash coming in before you have to take any kind of action on the price. Having that balanced approach, that proper diversification, having focus on quality really does help out in a time of recession and difficulty, and having that conservative nature is to a benefit. Our client's income hasn't gone down. In fact, mostly it's gone up or it stayed the same because we had some cash on hand, prices are down, we were able to go in and make some fruitful purchases where the dividend yield is higher, and that bumped up the income a little bit. But what about all of those fears and talk about dividends being cut across the board? Contrary to popular belief, not all companies are going to cut their dividends. Sure, the ones that were highly levered and probably shouldn't have been paying out a dividend anyway will cut them, and now is a great excuse and a great time to do so because shareholders will be a lot more forgiving now than probably they would during normal times. But if you have focused on quality and you went after those companies that had good cash flow, had good high earnings for their payout ratio, then they should be just fine. Now, if you have a company, maybe you have a couple that cut their dividend, if you have proper diversification, proper asset allocation, the overall impact to the portfolio will be small. And what will happen is we'll cut those from the portfolio, we'll probably sell them at a loss, but because their overall percentage of the portfolio was 5% roughly, between 5 to 8%, the loss overall would be small. We would replace it with another dividend income, paying company, a company that had better future ahead of them, and we'd carry on. We did see this in 2008. We had, one company, it was We had a company that, it was a big bank, they cut their dividend. It took a long time for them to recover. We did the right thing by selling it and replacing it with something else. Clients' income wasn't impacted overly much. Prices, carried on. They got paid a dividend income. With a year and a half later, they were above water. So the key is to build your house to withstand a storm, because baby, we're in one. I'm Anna Hilberry. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you for listening.